Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee with the Fantasy Football Consultants, and in this video, we are going to do full cash lineups on DraftKings and on FanDuel for Week 13 main slate. The Thanksgiving slate we already took care of in an earlier video. If it's not Thanksgiving yet, you feel free to check it out. Otherwise, this is going to get you ready for Sunday's games on the main slate. And I've got a very interesting lineup to walk you through. I'll get to that in just a minute, but I want to let you guys know, make sure you check out the NFL Survivor Show if that interests you. Michael Wiley and Aaron Dean really did a fun show where they not only talked about NFL Survivor, but they gave their playoff predictions of who's going to make the playoffs. And I was listening very closely for where they put the Seahawks. Anyway, I won't spoil anything. You got to check out that video. Anyways, let's talk about NFL DFS. And I'm all in on my running backs. I'm putting a lot of capital together, and we're going to use the same two running backs on DraftKings and FanDuel. And the first one is our cover boy, Devon Achane. This guy is absolutely incredible. With Tyreek Hill out for the season, he is this team's offense. Everything runs through this guy. Not only does he pile up the carries, he's gotten more than 20 carries the last 2 weeks. He is always, no matter what the game script is, heavily involved in the passing game. Here on DraftKings, we just love it with a full PPR. He's reasonably priced at $8,300. I got another superstar to talk about in a second. He's actually $1,000 cheaper than that guy on DraftKings. So I think this is a must-start guy on DraftKings. He's actually more expensive than the other guy on FanDuel. But like this A-Chain pick, he's in a great game environment. Look, the Dolphins are not home all the time, and they certainly are not favored much. They are a home favorite, 6-point favorite over the New Orleans Saints, and their, let's just say it, poor rush defense. And I like A-Chain here. So who are we pairing A-Chain with? It's our old favorite. We're pairing him with Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, $1,000 more. So we do have to pay a pretty penny here on DraftKings. But once again, he's worth it because of the ridiculous floor that he provides you. The San Francisco 49ers look like they are getting most of their weapons back on offense. And I think that's a good thing for McCaffrey. I'm not worried about the competition. He is always going to be featured in this offense. I just want to make sure that they move the ball effectively. And with Brock Purdy back, that is going to help, and with some of their other offensive weapons. So we've got McCaffrey and we've got A-Chain. So you're probably thinking in your mind, well, the rest of the exercise is going to be in how can we save money? And I get that. But take a look who our next guy is in our lineup. It is Chris Olave, who is the number one wide receiver on the Saints. So he's on the other side of that Miami Saint game. I have A-Chain on one side, Chris Olave on the other. And Olave is just by far the best weapon that the New Orleans Saints have. And, their rookie Shuck had no trouble tossing him the ball last week. 9 receptions and 13 targets. Love all the targets he gets for our full PPR on DraftKings. And let's take a look at the rest of this lineup. In addition to Olave, we're going to have the superstar. Yes, the superstar, Michael Wilson. 18 targets 2 weeks ago, followed up that by 15 targets. We said last week, look, we're not expecting 18 targets. We just hope he'll be all right because Harrison is once again going to be out. And he did way higher than our expectations. And all indications, once again, is Harrison is going to be out, and they're not able to bump his price high enough, in my opinion. So at $5,900, going up against Tampa Bay, I like having Michael Wilson, and we can afford him. So we go at our number 3 spot is Jaden Higgins from the Houston Texans, facing the Indianapolis Colts defense, which can give up some points. So we've got Higgins there, and I got a very strange pick for you at tight end. Brenton Strange. This guy has quietly been very consistent, but you wouldn't know it because he got injured, then he had his bye. So throughout week 5, because he got injured in the middle of that game, he had 6 receptions and 5 receptions in those 3 games, and he's got a great matchup at home against playing at Tennessee, but a Tennessee defense, I don't care what they're ranked against tight ends. They're not a good defense, folks. And they've been exposed as a bad defense over and over this year. Jacksonville is going for a playoff run. I think Strange is going to be a part of that. And $3,700 is simply too cheap for him. So let's get him in our lineup. And can you believe we're going to wrap up our lineup with 2 Jets? Can I put on the screen the Jet Dog, the forever depressed Jet Dog? Maybe this will make him excited. I have enough confidence in the Jets to have 2 guys, and I'm very excited about Tyrod Taylor because he's the new quarterback over Justin Fields, and I think that's a good thing for this entire New York Jet offense. Look, Tyrod Taylor is, not Joe Montana incarnate, but he's a veteran, capable quarterback that can at least get some passing yards. He threw for 222 yards. That's something that Justin Fields would take maybe 3 games to get to. And, although he's no Justin Fields in running, he is going to run the ball a little bit. He doesn't have a problem taking off. And the $4,300 price is absolutely criminal. So we're going to take advantage of that. And the other Jet we have in the lineup is probably their most talented Jet, which isn't saying much, especially with Garrett Wilson out. Breece Hall. If there ever was a good game to get to the Jets, they're at home. They're not a big dog here. And they play at Atlanta defense. Let's take a look at that matchup. Nothing impressive, especially against the run. So $6,000, I think, is a very fair price in a very good matchup with Breece Hall, with a quarterback I think that at least will be able to move the ball, that almost has no other weapons. So they're going to have to utilize Breece Hall. And then that leaves me with a defense, and it was simply a punt defense. I think earlier in this video, I took several shots at the Tennessee Titan defense, forgetting that I was putting them in my lineup as a complete punt defense. Look, this is a punt defense, folks. Let me give you all the reasons why I like Tennessee. Well, they're at home. They're at home. And their price, only $2,200, and that was all that we can afford. We spent every last dollar of our money, and that is our DraftKings lineup. Let's go over to FanDuel and see how we put together a cash lineup, starting with the same 2 running backs, Christian McCaffrey and Devon Achane. How do we scrape through the rest of that lineup? All right, everybody, we're now on FanDuel, and as I mentioned, we are going to keep Christian McCaffrey and Achane in our lineup. So that means you're probably thinking, what type of bargains am I going to get in to fit those 2 guys in? And check out this bargain. Revealed! Puka Nacua! So yet another superstar is added to this lineup, $9,300. And I think we just got to get this guy in the lineup. He is a true talent, heavily utilized, has a healthy Matthew Stafford, who just targets him all the time, playing a Carolina defense that is no bueno. 27th ranked against the pass. So that means we have to go on a scavenger hunt for bargains for the rest of our lineup. But I'm going to start with someone who I think is pretty darn good. Let's get in Jalen Waddle in our lineup at $7,000. If A-Chain is almost all of this offense of Miami, whatever's left is Jalen Waddle, right? That has been the case ever since Tyreek Hill went out, and he's in a great matchup. I expect they at home, good weather in Miami, that they put up some points against this very poor New Orleans Saints defense. And where do we go from here? How about the number one wide receiver on the Carolina Panthers? Granted, they play the Rams, which is a tough matchup, but McMillan is a highly targeted guy. He struggled last week, but for a lot of the season, very highly targeted. $6,800, fair price for him on FanDuel. A little blast to the past in order to save money. Teddy Bridgewater, the new starter, because Baker Mayfield is injured. So all indications are, as I'm filming this, that Mayfield will be out. So obviously check that, make sure that is the case. But I've always been a personal fan of Teddy Bridgewater. I think he is one of the strongest backups in the NFL. And I think he can step in a very good matchup at home against an Arizona Cardinals defense that just gives up tons of yards, tons of points. So Bridgewater at only $6,300. Let's get him in our lineup. And Darren Waller at $4,000. I'm a little surprised from this. He is supposed to return from IR, and he's a play. So obviously watch the news. But remember, this is a guy that, because this is my third Dolphin, I know that. I'm just going anti-Saint here. But this is a guy that when they get around the goal line, they are looking his way. He's only played 3 games, and he scored 4 TD receptions. So, look, he's not going to be a highly targeted guy. But in a game where I expect Miami to move the ball and get into the red zone multiple times, man, I like the chances of Waller potentially getting in the end zone. And if that happens, he blows away this $4,000 salary. And then finally, at my flex, let's kind of take a look at the rest of this lineup. At my flex is a guy that is on my fantasy team, and I can't wait to get him back into the lineup. Trey Benson, he's a rookie, just really unfortunate. Don't look at his stats. They're not relevant to how good this guy, I expect him to do this week. Because for the first 3 games, he was sharing time with James Conner. In fact, James Conner was the starter. Then Conner goes down. Very exciting for everybody that is a Trey Benson owner, and not so exciting for anybody who is a family member of James Conner. But it was exciting for the opportunity that Trey Benson would get. All indications is he would become a bell cow. What happens? He gets hurt in the middle of that game. So once again, you don't see him getting a lot of activity. He should resume the role of being the bell cow back on Arizona. Slight concern that, will they ease him in and not play him, as much as they will down the road. But I think that's a risk worth taking because his salary, it's built in to his salary at only $5,400. I like this. I like this pick, and that leaves us just enough money to go with Okay. Are you guys getting the feeling that I don't think the Saints are very good? I am putting my fourth Miami Dolphin in the lineup. I know it is a little crazy, but look, the Dolphins are at home. They are a 6-point favorite, and they face probably the worst team in the NFL that doesn't play in Tennessee. So, um, so I've loaded up on Dolphins. All right, folks. I really am curious. What do you guys think of these two lineups? What adjustments will you make? And if you're watching this, well, regardless of when you're watching this, I really hope that you're having a wonderful time with your family and friends, and take a moment to appreciate what you have to be thankful in your life and treasure this time with your family and friends. I wish all of you the very best, and we will see you in week 15, because we'll be out for week 14, but we'll be back in week 15 to break down FanDuel and DraftKings on the main slate. And until then, take care, everybody.